Right, hello, good morning, and welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. Well, it's a Thursday, and it's the 21st day of March 2024. By His grace, we're live, and we're here with yet another edition of the show. Our gratitude to go to Most High God for the very privilege of being alive, and of course, the opportunity of having another conversation around the top stories making rounds here in our dear Republic. I'll let you into our panel for the morning's conversation shortly, but let's take a look at the front pages of our newspapers. Daily Graphic. Ex Gratia, unfair and unjust. Scrap Article 71. Participants. $45 million pharmaceutical products locked up at port. Teacher union strike over conditions of service. Ghana tops all at WAEC Excellence Awards. Daily Guide. Backbench showdown. Parliament won't approve ministers. Professor Bernard Killer jailed 30 years. Chamber of Commerce endorses Baumia's private sector growth policy. Election 2024, all 75,000 biometric devices intact. EC. Obua Judge most innovative CEO. The new crusading guide. Baumia promises tax amnesty to businesses and individuals from 2025. Baumia's tax digitalization agenda progressive. GCCI. Obua Judge most innovative CEO. Our BVDs are intact, Dr. Bosman assures. I'll serve you with dignity, protozoa to constituents in Zoom. The Insight, Election 2024, Care Ghana calls for forensic audit into 7 missing EC biometric devices. Stop the illegal demolition and displacement of innocent residents at Burumburam, Ekwam family petitions presidency. Illegal importation of rice, collapsing local industry, GAU. NDC set to initiate private members' bill to get e-levy. Other nuisance taxes scrapped. Ukraine, France all dressed up and nowhere to go. The Daily Statesman, new tax regime under Bawumia to boost private sector development. President to launch Ghana Smart Schools project. We are working to make Ghana ICT hub of West Africa. EC, our systems are secure. The New Finder, GNCCI embraces Bawumia's policies, suggests additional measures for consideration. Safe Water pushes for adoption of innovative water solutions. Teachers declare nationwide strike. Akufo-Addo to launch Ghana Smart Schools project. Daily Post, boot for boot. Speaker retaliates, suspends the approval of Akufo-Addo's new ministers. Minority demands police report on 7 missing EC biometric verification machines. 3 teacher unions declare nationwide strike over unresolved grievances. Momo agents threaten strike over GRA's double taxation on e-levy. There's no sector of this country today that is better than it was in 2016 when NDC handed power to NPP. Sami Jemfi. And that's about it. For the front pages, we'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. With me on the show this morning, I have the Honorable Dr. Dickson Adumaku Kisi, who is the Member of Parliament for the Nya Sotum constituency. He is also a medical doctor. Doc, good morning.
Morning.
Right. Also with me on the show this morning is a man who represents the good people of South Dai, but he's wanted from Ashedu Keteke to Yape Kusogu. He's a legal practitioner, and he's the Honorable Roxin Nelson Eche Defemekbo. Honorable, good morning.
Add notorious to
Yes, Doc, good morning.
Okay,
And
so
Doc,
so you can tell from his Ray-Ban that indeed the man is avoiding eye contact with the rest of Ghana.
I think you should add notorious to his name.
Notorious Eche.
Yes.
Afoleke.
new phone.
Anyway, there's a lot to talk about in Parliament. There's a lot to really talk about. But I want us to watch this that happened in Parliament yesterday, and we'll find out how we got here And of course, the majority also has a response for Mr. Speaker.
Be that as it may, honorable members, I also bring to your attention the receipt of a process from the courts titled Roxanne Nelson Eche K. Dafiamapo versus the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General, suit number J1/12/2024, which process was served on the 19th, that is yesterday, March 2024, and an injunction motion on notice seeking to restrain the Speaker from proceeding with the vetting and approval of the names of the persons submitted by His Excellency the President until the provisions of the Constitution are satisfied. Honorable members, in the light of this process, the House is unable to continue to consider the nominations of His Excellency the President, to use the language of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, quote, in the spirit of upholding the rule of law, unquote, until after the determination of the application for interlocutory injunction by the Supreme Court. Honorable members, this is the precedent that is being set by His Excellency the President for all Ghanaians to follow. So any matter that comes before Parliament, any Ghanaian can issue a writ and follow it with an application for injunction. And that is enough to injunct Parliament from proceeding with the consideration of the business in the House. Honorable members, I thank you all for your attention.
18th of March, through his secretary, Nana Beditu Asante, expressed certain views regarding certain matters before the Supreme Court of the land. Which letter today Mr. Speaker had cause to respond to. Mr. Speaker expressed his disagreement regarding the content of the said letter. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker went beyond expressing this disagreement and rather pronounced judgment on what in his view was wrong. Mr. Speaker did not only stop there, he also used very unsavory words to describe Mr. President. We believe that in a democracy, we have a right to disagree on views expressed, but we do not have right to say things to denigrate another. This, we think, is very unacceptable. Now let me get into the main issue. Mr. Speaker said that Mr. President was undermining democracy and that he should have resorted to the Constitution in making certain communications to the House. We in the majority beg to disagree on the position taken by him. If you carefully read the letter that was sent to Parliament, Mr. President limited himself to the processes before the court, and the fact that Parliament itself, through an affidavit, had joined issues. Parliament has filed an affidavit in opposition and is in court. In fact, Parliament is a party to the suit. So for us, we do not see how this would have to affect the proceedings of Parliament. In any event, Mr. Speaker has always deferred to the leadership of the House to guide him in the conduct of business. This morning, the leadership of the House sat together to discuss the various items to be taken. We have finished some of them. There were some that we were supposed to take, and we were told that Mr. Speaker would have to take the chair. It's very disappointing that after Mr. Speaker had made known his own views about the letter sent from the presidency to the clerk, he adjourned the House Synod without giving room for the leadership of the House to even comment. This we find very strange. But this is a democracy. We believe, as Mr. Speaker himself said, and I'll quote him, that this impasse calls for reflection. This impasse calls for reflection. I will play that out to Mr. Speaker himself, that we all need to reflect on the way forward as a nation. He said he was not going into the matter as that would undermine the outcome of same. But we all know that the very issue that was raised by Honorable Dafé Amepo had to do with the continuing ministers who had been reshuffled to other ministries. The issue of constitutionality of certain nominees had been determined by way of they going through the vetting process, a report coming before the House for debate and final decision. So for me, these are two unrelated issues. How can Dafé Amepo raise an issue regarding a minister who has been transferred? Let's put it in that state, that a minister in one ministry has been moved to another ministry, and the words used by the Mr. President was that he has relieved them of their portfolio and moving them to another ministry. How does that affect a situation where a nominee has been referred to a appointment committee? Appointment committee has vetted that person, brought a report, and you say that there's an injunction application pending. Therefore, such a situation cannot be considered by Parliament. This is bad faith. This is bad faith. Because you have two unrelated issues being conjoined to create a certain political effect. But again, since this is a chamber where we will do public business, we believe that we need to reflect on these issues and sit together as stakeholders in this politics to get things done. We will rest our case, but before, let me also express disappointment at the conduct of the minority. Is it the case that they were aware of what was going to happen? Is it the case that they would always see no evil and say no evil? Is it the case that they are in support of this action to obstruct government business? They should remember that the people of Ghana are watching. We have ministers who are supposed to manage ministries, to conduct public business for the benefit of the people of Ghana. What the minority has done today clearly shows that they are not on the side of democracy. Indeed, they want government business to come to a halt through their conduct, because they were nowhere ready to get us to even engage Mr. Speaker. They were ready to pack and get to their various cars and go home.
Condescending tone that is contained in his letter addressed to Parliament. We wish to remind His Excellency the President that just in case he has forgotten, that Parliament of Ghana is not an appendage of the executive arm of government. Neither is Parliament an extension of the office of the President. The Constitution of Ghana spells out in plain language when the President of the Republic of Ghana must do when Parliament passes a bill and present to His Excellency the President. The President must assent to the bill or must refuse to assent to the bill when it is presented to him as the President of the Republic. These are the only options, and in this case, there is no middle ground at all per the constitutional imperative. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also say that in the instance case of the Human Sexual Right and Family Values Bill 2024, President Akufo-Addo has taken a strange and alien position, which is unknown to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. Given that Parliament has been injuncted in a matter of the President's nominee for the position of ministers and deputy ministers, it is obvious that this Honorable House is also unable and cannot approve those ministerial nominees His Excellency the President has also presented to Parliament. At this point, the President may have to be innovative, dynamic, and think out of the box by downsizing the size of his government. Let me say that merely piling on numbers by way of appointing ministers and deputy ministers does not signal to the people of Ghana that the President understands the seriousness of the mess that he and his government has created in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also say that this may be a good time for President Akufo-Addo to listen to the feedback about the size of his government. At the very least, the two top political parties, namely the NDC and the MPP, agree to downsize government size the way forward. There is an urgent need to downsize the government in order to save the taxpayers some huge cost of running the government. Already, President Mahama has signaled that in his next government, he will not appoint more than 60 ministers. Interestingly, we are also aware that the Vice President, who was part of a government that appointed 125 ministers, has come round to also promise 50 ministers. So all what we are saying is that, may I ask, ladies and gentlemen from the media, what is the prudent justification for a Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, which with 2 deputy ministers and a Minister of State? Again, why do we have the same ministers and ministers of local government, 2 deputy ministers and a Minister of State at the Ministry of Local Government? Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to conclude by saying that the Right Honorable Speaker has made an important call, a call for Parliament to unite against the autocratic tendencies of our President and this government. We in the NDC minority is ready to protect the sanctity of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. And we stand with the Speaker of Parliament in this.
All right, so whether you want to label it as getting into the realm of absurdity, or somebody told me last night that idiocy for idiocy, whichever way you want to look at it, there is an impasse. Honorable Defumakwa.
Yes.
How did we get here? How do we wiggle our way out?
Obviously,
the minority and the majority are not in full agreement as far as the position of Mr. Speaker is concerned.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning once more, and good morning to my good people in Southline, Beki, Balik, Bevetongo. I think that arrogance brought us here. Arrogance, pure and simple. Arrogance in the sense that the basis upon which I triggered this matter had been raised over a month ago, because on the 14th of February, the President issued a public statement dismissing some number of ministers of state. In the constitution, ministers of state also include deputies, and thank them for their public service and wish them well in their future endeavors. Then he proceeded to make fresh appointments pursuant to Article 78 of the Constitution. And that being so, of course, will be subjected to parliamentary pre-approval process. Then the president, curiously, and I thought that it was an error. Initially, I thought it was an error in communication. Then the president, curiously, said he was reassigning some number of ministers to moving them from a supposed existing ministry where they were serving to new ones. And these were persons who also featured in the names of ministers that have been summarily dismissed. If you recall the letter, it was a summary dismissal with immediate effect. In fact, those who were in traffic, I knew two, who were in traffic that morning and were on their way to their office. And when they heard the news, they couldn't enter the office any longer. They had to look for another place to attend. In fact, they came to Parliament straight. They couldn't go to the ministry because they released it with immediate effect. I was told that some communication had gone, but they were not given an indication as to when exactly it will happen. So everybody was shocked that morning. Now, clearly, Article 81 came to mind, 81A, where a minister's position portfolio becomes vacant once the appointment is revoked, terminated, or relieved of the post. So I raised the matter that I want to believe genuinely that was an error in miscommunication, so they could correct it and reissue a new statement stating that, yes, this number of ministers have been relieved of their portfolios with immediate effect, but these ones were not relieved of their portfolios and that will be reassigned. It never happened. So I move away from exercising caution on the part of the president to now confirming that was truly the intent and that the president intended to actually read the constitution without more. And truth be told, he sent names of the appointees to Parliament, the nominees to Parliament, without the names of these 6 persons. So I was compelled to proceed to the Supreme Court after 30 days. After the 14th of March, I called my lawyer and said, my brother, I think we should do this. So we began the process. Now, Apenomaki is trying to interpret the use of the word relief by the president to mean that if the president said he was relieving those ministers of their portfolios, it meant that he was moving them from their existing ministry where they were serving as ministers of state to another. But the error in that reasoning and logic and interpretation is that it was not only those 6 ministers who were relieved of their portfolios. In fact, there were about 23 in all. So what happened to the fate of those 23 ministers? They are home. They are no longer ministers of state. So we can all do politics, but it's my colleague. It's in the law, we are colleagues. We were in the same study group. We graduated the same day, started practice same time. And today is a leader. I am not, but we can't play politics with some of these legal constitutional matters. So that's by the side. Now, if you cannot, as an organ of state, Doc, you cannot antagonize one another. Look, the judiciary cannot antagonize Parliament because there are constitutional interrelationships. When a Supreme Court judge is nominated, so when a person is nominated to serve on the Supreme Bench, the person will be brought to Parliament for pre-approval. So that's interrelationship. When the president nominates somebody to serve as a minister of state or to occupy a constitutionally created office, the person will be brought to Parliament for approval. In the reverse, when Parliament wants money, the money will have to be voted for by the executive and approved by Parliament. So the executive would say, Parliament, this is the budget we are giving you for, let's say, 2024. Parliament will have to look at it vis-a-vis its programs and approve of it or ask for more. So Parliament too can be squeezed, so to speak, by the executive by not giving Parliament money to function. Now, when Parliament does its work, does anything at all, and there are disagreements, it is the judiciary, the other organ, that is constitutionally mandated to determine its constitutionality or otherwise. So the framers of the Constitution, these are the thematic frames underpinning our constitutional governance structure. So we are supposed to coexist peacefully and interrelate well and ensure cohesion of the state. Even if I have a problem, even if I'm a president and I have a problem with the work done by Parliament, there will be a more courteous way of communicating my misgivings. Indeed, what is the issue? The issue is that Parliament has just passed a bill into law, a bill that I and others have sponsored. And clearly, we went through the constitutionally provided procedure in doing so. But if the head of the executive has misgivings, he's also mandated under the Constitution under Article 106, 7, clauses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, thereabout, to do what he has to do if he has misgivings. You cannot run the state as the head of government like a sole proprietorship. Because there are constitutional imperatives underpinned by timelines that within which you must take certain constitutional actions, constitutional directives, pronouncements, instructions. So we are saying that even if a person is aggrieved and goes to court in respect of an act, a function performed by Parliament, there are remediable steps in judicial remediable steps. So if Parliament, if the plaintiff, all right, in this matter, if the plaintiff feels the Parliament has taken certain steps that are contumacious of the powers of the court, that are contemptuous of the powers of the court, that will prejudice the outcome of the matter before the court, the judicial remedy is you cite Parliament in contempt. Now, Parliament will be invited to show cause why contempt must not lie. This is how we proceed methodically in law to deal with some of these matters. Minus the executive, because the executive, it's not by accident or history why there are timelines placed on your mandate. Your mandate is for 4 years. So every day, every hour, every minute counts in delivering on that mandate. What is the issue? The issue is that a bill, which is yet to become a law, it's still before Parliament has been tidied up, done, is to be remitted to the office of the President for his assent in pursuance of
Transmitted.
Yes, that's what I mean, remittal. To be remitted to the office of the President for his assent in pursuance of the constitutional provisions. And we are saying that you cannot receive that letter. You can't receive a communication from Parliament. It's so petty, it beggars belief. Because you see, the Constitution directs you what to do when that happens. You can veto, but when you veto, it is subject to conditions. And Speaker eloquently related to those matters, so I won't belabor them today. But you have 7 days to write if you are taking one alternative.
So for the benefit of those who
Yes.
really watch Mr. Speaker,
Okay.
and then know what you're talking about.
Yes.
If what you're saying is that the president is not bound to assent to a bill
Yes.
so presented by Parliament,
Exactly.
and that the Constitution recognizes that,
Yes.
and the Constitution dictates how the president should go about it.
Exactly.
If he agrees to assent or disagrees to assent, take us through that so people appreciate that indeed
Very well.
the Constitution provides for.
Very well.
Yeah.
Now, in Article 106, let me quickly deal with that. 106, where are you? Now, 106, Article 106.7 says as follows: where a bill passed by Parliament is presented to the President for assent, he shall signify within 7 days after the presentation to the Speaker that he assents to the bill. That's the first option. If he assents, within 7 days, he must write back to Speaker that, oh, the bill remitted to me for my assent, as the assent has been effected. So take steps to gazette it, number it, and then we can find timeline. The government will find timeline to implement. Sometimes it happens like that. They may even delay it for a couple of months before they implement. Or to the Speaker that he assents to the bill, or that he refuses to assent to the bill,
Reason.
All right.
With reasons.
unless the bill has been referred by the President to the Council of State under Article 90 of this Constitution.
So what it means is that the framers of a constitution also envisage a situation where the president might want to consult further
Exactly.
before he assents.
That's
So
exactly.
in that regard, within the 7 days, he can either assent, refuse to assent, or submit it to the Council of State.
Exactly.
So when he submits it to the Council of State, then it means that it can go beyond the 7 days.
In fact, I'll get there.
Please go.
Now, when it gets to Council of State, he will not merely refer the bill. The requirement is that he must propose amendments, because you can't say that you reject the entire bill. Even if you reject the entire bill, you must still propose amendment and give reasons why.
Okay, please read for us
Okay.
what it says.
Now, 8. Where the president refuses to assent to a bill, he shall within 14 days after the refusal, A, state in a memorandum to the Speaker any specific provisions of the bill which, in his opinion, should be reconsidered by Parliament, including his recommendations for amendments, if any. Or B, inform the Speaker that he has referred the bill to the Council of State for consideration and comment under Article 90 of this Constitution. Now, Article 90 has been referred copiously. So what does Article 90 say? Article 90 is to the effect that a bill which has been published in the Gazette or passed by Parliament shall be considered by the Council of State if the President so requests. All right? Okay. 2. A request from the President for consideration of a bill may be accompanied by a statement setting forth the amendments or changes, if any, which the President proposes for consideration by the Council of State. 3. Consideration of a bill under Clause 1, that is 91, of this article shall be completed within 30 days. So Council of State also has 30 days to revert to the President. After the third reading in Parliament of that bill, except that where the bill was passed under a certificate of urgency, the Council of State shall consider it and report to the President within 72 hours. You get it? Okay. Now 4. Where the Council of State decides not to propose an amendment to a bill, the chairman shall, within 7 days, after the decision of the Council, transmit the bill with a certificate to that effect addressed to the President. That's, they are returning the bill without any further comments. It's going back intact. 5. Where the Council of State decides to propose amendments to a bill, the bill, with a memorandum setting forth the amendment proposed on the bill, shall be transmitted by the chairman to the president within 15 days after the conclusion of the consideration by the Council of State. So, you see the timelines fixed by the Constitution in respect of each of the scenarios.
So let me ask you this. Now, in this case, per the president's letter, and I'm restricting myself to the president's letter.
Yes.
The president does not indicate that he refuses to assent because he disagrees with some portions of the bill and is therefore proposing an amendment.
Yes.
He has not stated that.
Yes.
He says that he would not even accept it. It should not be transmitted to him.
Yes.
Because there are cases that have been filed in court. Now, his refusal, if he accepts it, his refusal to assent, per what you read, the president would have to state his reasons.
Yes.
Okay. Now, he says that don't even bring it to me.
Yes.
Because you should know better that it is settled law that when you have those processes in court, the status quo
ante must be
maintained.
Yeah.
That's the president's point.
Yes. Okay. It's an absurd point to make.
Why?
Because the law does not contemplate absurdity. Let me demonstrate. For instance...
Can I come in maybe?
You come in, you'll have your time. For instance, I am aggrieved by an action of the Chief Justice. So, I sue the Chief Justice. Then, as part of the reliefs, I seek an injunctive relief to injunct the Chief Justice from performing his constitutionally mandated functions until my matter is determined on its merits. Do you know the absurdity if that is upheld? Do you know what it means? It means the Chief Justice cannot even constitute a court to hear my matter. Meanwhile, I am before a court. You understand?
That would be stretching it too far.
No, that is not. Because you see, what the president has done is that an act of parliament, which is yet to be completed, is being held in abeyance.
Yeah. So let me ask you the question as well.
Yes.
If the president believes that the process in court should stop parliament from proceeding with the transmission, that's his belief. If that is his belief, and indeed the letter suggests so, that look, once parliament has been notified of the process in parliament, and as the majority speaker said, majority leader, said, parliament itself has filed an affidavit in the said matter, that it is settled law that everything concerning that particular matter must cease, which then means that the issue of transmission should cease until the determination of it. And then, in the opinion of the president, it's settled law that parliament itself ought to appreciate that once you are aware of this and you have even filed an affidavit, you should halt all processes until it has been resolved. Settled law. Yet, parliament decides to do otherwise.
Yes.
What could the president have done under the circumstance?
Okay. What the president would have done is that the president ought not to have gone into such an absurd interpretation of the law. An absurdity because, I'll give you another example. I am presently in court against parliament.
But what I just want to find out
Yes.
Let me use an event like that,
yes.
What can the president do?
The president must accept the remittal.
And if he accepts, how does he communicate the fact that, look, there is settled law, you have been made aware, you have filed an affidavit, you should let the status quo ante remain?
Now, you have provided the answer. So the president will receive the remittal containing the bill and acknowledge in the language that you just said that I hereby acknowledge receipt of the bill number this in respect of this legislation. However, as you may be aware, there are 2 actions pending in the Supreme Court regarding the status of this matter. So, in the spirit of upholding the law, may we all abide the outcome. This is how you communicate.
And is that what the constitutional provisions provide?
No, it does not. That is not what the constitutional provision provides. But it's a better way of communicating your grievance. If you appreciate what I'm saying, it's a better way of drawing attention to matters that are sub judice to the issue. Then, because the Constitution didn't provide the procedure when this spring into life, we'll have recourse to case law. Because these matters, Supreme Court have had cause to pronounce on them. For instance, in Amanda Audrey versus the Speaker of Parliament, the court says you cannot injunct Parliament from performing its legislative duties. You understand?
Does the legislative duty include the transmitter?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right.
It does.
Okay.
It does.
Okay.
So
in the Amanda Audrey case, the case was at the second reading
exactly
when she sought the injunction.
yes, when our committee brought the report
and the Supreme Court was of view that you can't stop Parliament from doing their legislative work.
Yes.
So your application is premature. So go off.
Exactly.
Now you're saying that the transmitter from Parliament to the President is part of the legislative
It's part
work.
of the legislative process. In fact, it does not, even President Hassan does not complete it.
Okay.
It cannot, a law passed by Parliament, properly edited, transmitted, and received presidential assent still doesn't make it a law, properly so called. Until the clerk, so it will be remitted back to the clerk. It goes through a certain journey. The clerk will now have to gazette it for 21 days. When it is gazetted, the law must be numbered by the clerk to Parliament. Then it will now be launched into implementation. It is only then that it can be given effect of law, properly so called. So as it is half-baked. We are just, the bread
Now,
is
I
half-baked.
find something interesting, and after that I'll come to you.
Yeah.
And then when we are done, we now look at the way forward.
Yeah.
But something interesting happened, and I said I should have read the Attorney General's
opinion.
Yes, I didn't have the opinion as at the time we were discussing it yesterday. But something curious. In listening to the speaker, I heard the speaker make the point that he's seen the AG's advice. And the AG's advice to the president is that he should not assent until the determination
The
of
final
the matter.
determination
Yes.
of the matter.
Now,
However,
yes.
he should receive it.
How does
Okay.
the president then rely on that advice to decide not to receive it and warn Parliament to cease and desist?
Okay, let me put it this way. The president rather ignored that advice because an advice, when taken, we would suggest that it's been taken and acted upon. The AG's advice to the president was rather ignored. So they took an executive decision, discarding the legal opinion of the AG, and used executive powers to unscrupulously threaten Parliament that don't even venture, don't even try, don't even come near here. All right? Stay in your legislative tower with your bill until there's a judicial pronouncement on the matter. So the AG gave the proper direction, like I have enunciated, that receive the bill and indicates why you are hesitating in giving assent, so that we can trigger other constitutional processes which will be based not on provisions in the Constitution but on case law. So case law would have given direction that once the mandate is a constitutional imperative, proceed. Because there are several doctrines under penal jurisprudence, including presumption of regularity of constitutional functions. That when a constitutional mandate is carried out, it is presumed to be irregular until the Supreme Court will pronounce otherwise. And that's why I've been making the point that that's why even when the president is elected and the election is called into question, he will be sworn in and he will proceed to carry out the functions of his mandate until the court will pronounce otherwise. So you cannot injunct a constitutional office holder from undertaking his mandate under the Constitution. That's why I gave you the CJ example. That is why another example I can give you is that, like the e-levy, the president said that, yes, but I'll proceed to give assent. I will collect the money. If the Supreme Court pronounced otherwise, we will account for it. We were aggrieved because we went to court. We were aggrieved that they were not willing to abide the outcome of the case. But he made a fundamental legal point. So it's okay. So we are proceeding with the matter. It is become it's delaying inordinately though, but we are in court, and we are hoping that if the gavel falls in our favor, then the state will be able to account for what they've collected under the e-levy. That is how the things work. That is why when, for instance, Parliament passed the new NACOC law, if you recall, Doc, when we passed the new NACOC law, and President gave assent to it, and a young lawyer felt aggrieved. In fact, a young lawyer proceeded to the Supreme Court based on instructions from his client and tackled the law and says one particular provision lacked constitutionality because of A, B, C, D. The court listened to him and pronounced that the law is regular, but that provision is irregular, and had it struck down. Parliament had to go back to do the proper thing to bring back that provision, but in the constitutionally mandated formula that the court itself outlined. So that is how you do things.
All right. Okay. Let me bring in Doc, and then would after that look at the way forward. Doc.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Dr. Mapo has spoken quite extensively, expressed his sentiments and views. I think that if there's a Black Wednesday, I'll call yesterday a Black Wednesday for Ghana, in the sense that many things, as he said, has led to what happened yesterday. Quite an unfortunate thing. But a few key things I want to point out, and I'll pray that people can appreciate what this is all about. Today I heard the president say one key thing, that he feels that there are major issues in the country, and that at the crust of all of this, the LGBTQ thing hasn't gotten to where Ghana would make it our agenda. To really paraphrase what the president was saying, per his interview outside the country, that Ghana was not going to make this our agenda. Now, the NDC has always been almost comparing e-levy to the LGBTQ thing, but I beg to differ on the point that the e-levy was cabinet decision and was brought to Parliament for us to go through it and agree on some numbers or disagree on some numbers and then return it to the executive. So the origination of the two things are different. A private member's bill and then e-levy. Now, one of the key bases of a private member's bill, which has to stand the test of time, is a cost on the state. And that element can never be discounted. Cost on the state. Whether foregone earnings in economic parlance, where money you would have received you don't get, or money's due you. And in the case of these two things, the president has to prove to Ghanaians that none of them are injurious to the country. So the two are not the same. The origination are not the same and should not be held to the same level in terms of the enormity of something that originates from cabinet and something that originates from a private member's bill. Now, one very important thing is that there are prescriptions and timelines, and I believe in it, and the Constitution rightly prescribes what happens consequence of one thing. And I think that Dafia Mapoa has explained in very illustrative ways how a presidential assent or non-assent can happen and all the other things in between. One thing is quite clear in my mind as I listen to all of these things that have happened, is that it appears to me that the president, for this particular decision, believes that the judiciary's input is of a huge importance. And I think the jury is out there to either decide that, listen, Parliament has had its way. President feels strongly that this particular bill, he would prefer that there's an input of the judiciary on this. And what I mean by the judiciary is the Supreme Court. So that I think in maybe bringing his corrections or amendments to the bill, he can incorporate whatever the Supreme Court decides on this matter. Fair enough. We can either say that that is erroneous.
But are you not convinced by what you know at this point?
Yes.
That if indeed these were the views of the president, the Constitution had clearly provided for the president a path to communicate same.
That is where we may differ. You know, from executive standpoint, and the communications need clarity. I agree with you on that. But we would wait and see how the president maybe communicates it. But I think that in principle, what I gather from all of this is that the president would wish to incorporate into his ascension or non-ascension what the Supreme Court thinks about this. Now, yesterday, there's this adage that two wrongs don't make a right. And I will always stand by that two wrongs. Even if, and you cited somebody, you said somebody said what?
Idiocy for idiocy.
Idiocy for idiocy. That will not keep the ordinary Ghanaian safe. And I mean, yesterday, Speaker Bagbin was very eloquent in terms of the legal, technical issues. But at the end, his actions were so far from the elaborative legal rendition he gave. And that, for me, is inconsistent. And my worry is that as a student of the Speaker, because we all also look up to him, he made his assessments, made a case for why a case in court should not stop you from doing your rightful duties as an executive arm and as a legislative arm. And then he goes on to say that, be it as it may, he will stop what the legislator has to do because of a similar thing. And that is where I think he's been very inconsistent. I'll leave it out for people to think about it. But all in all, one thing that is key, and I need to express it here, that the president by no means will disrespect Parliament. The president will not disregard the function and role that the Parliament or the other arm of government does. And I thought that agreeing or allowing the Supreme Court to also weigh in on this issue was rather showing that, listen, there are three arms. Legislative arm has had their way. On this particular issue, let's also hear what the Supreme Court also has to say, so that all three arms of government will have input in this matter. I think that the president was abiding by the laws of the country and actually doing the one key thing, which is forbearance. And I believe that for the country's sake, the key word, forbearance, for the country's sake, tolerance, for the country's sake. And at this point in time, we've hijacked the health of this nation. And I'm saying this because, per what has happened, we don't have a substantive Minister of Health today. Per what has happened, the sick and the afflicted and the gender ministry don't have a substantive minister. And is it in the interest of this country or the ordinary man that key governmental functions, and I know in the heart of hearts, even of the NDC, that they know Ghana cannot do without a health minister. And I'm almost down in tears. And yesterday was, like I said, a black Wednesday for Ghana, in the sense that we've held to ransom very key governmental positions because of, this one is maybe two big elephants fighting. I don't know if I'll still, with a great of respect, call Bagbin an elephant. But in simple parlance, two big elephants are duking out. And the average, me, a parliamentary MP, Dafia Mapotu MP, we are at the brunt of this, unfortunately. Now, I am only making this firm assertion that the minority should not necessarily be making the strong case of the president disrespecting Parliament, because I don't see it that way. I'll beg them.
You read the letter.
I'll beg them.
And you don't get the impression that it is disrespectful?
No. My key point here is that was not the intention. The president by no means.
You are a member of Parliament.
The president by no means.
You are a member of Parliament. You agree that the transmission is part of the legislative work of Parliament. Do you?
100%.
Okay. So, if the president writes to Parliament, and first of all even describes your legislative function, you abiding by the constitutional provisions as far as your legislative functions, as an attempt to present the document, first of all.
And I think Bagbin rightly said that.
And then he says
he's done it 3 times.
And then he ends up saying that by that letter, you are to cease.
It's a prayer to Parliament. He's praying to Parliament that we hold off on transmission. I think that the choice of words may be, but it was a prayer to Parliament to hold off until we get the input of the Supreme Court on this case.
Which input?
So I believe that, when I say input, is that a determination of the cases in the
injunction.
Supreme Court. Yes. And I think that you are right in saying that the choice of words may be, but I believe that the president was, as it is, making a prayer to Parliament to hold off until. Now, the other key thing here, which I need to be guided by, is that something unusual happened yesterday. And I need our viewers to appreciate the fact that since I've been in Parliament, to close us and to end the session, Speaker usually would say minority, majority leadership, the way forward. Now, yesterday was unique in the sense that we had tabled other things to attend to, including a $150 million facility to help with our forex exchange in this country.
Huh?
150 million, in addition to, it's an IDA facility. And I was hoping that, if not at all, of all the things, taking that decision would have helped us in terms of the dollar rate, which we all Ghanaians are crying about. And in addition to our business-friendly environment, there was also another item, and it is tax exemptions for businesses who are bringing heavy equipment. Some of them are for the roads we are all crying about. Some of them are for, agro-processing. And that one too, we didn't attend to.
Cease and desist.
Unfortunately, I'm weeping.
It's a cease and desist decision.
And I was hoping that, I think, in my thinking, I really was hoping that we would have at least carried out those functions for this country. Because taxpayers put us there for one key thing, to make decisions at the crust of it all in the interest of the ordinary Ghanaian. And one particular one, like I said, is the $150 million facility.
This thing,
And
$1.2 billion.
we are crying for
No, I'm saying
300
the 600
million.
and 600, 1.2 billion.
Yes.
The fact that we are not paying our debts and all the tax revenue, it has not stabilized the city. It's $150 million that stabilized the city.
Listen, in finance or in local parlance, yes, it will be a you understand? So I am hurt by the fact that the business items for yesterday were not attended to. Okay. And you see, there's one other key thing, which for me, I was putting myself in the position of the members of parliament who have been vetted. And, the limbo they are in. Many of them are very ready to bring on board new, fresh ideas. And Afenya Markin yesterday said one thing, that, listen, it so much appears that the NDC, or the minority, largely wants to not help government business. And I think there's an iota of truth there, because in one breath, NDC was also screaming that President should bring on board fresh people for his government and should reshuffle. At least, that was what they were saying. The President has now reshuffled. If even there's a query about the 6, a lot of them have been vetted and were ready during this break to go and work heavily, assiduously in the various functions. Especially, like I said today we've held Ministry of Health in ransom, in limbo. And I know that FEMAPO has nothing.
What do you say to this? It's never the case that every item advertised on other paper is considered or taken. But the standing orders, the prescribed working hours of Parliament is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. After 2 p.m., the House is entirely in the hands of the Speaker. So the Speaker may ask the Majority Leader if he has any business on the table, or go ahead to adjourn the House as he did yesterday.
No, like I said, may. I didn't say shall. Okay. So I'm not saying that the Speaker. That's why I said usually. I was using my words very careful here. Usually, and in fact, I was anticipating, Ato Forson to give a summary of some sort, and then also anticipating Afenyomakin to give a summary and to wish us well whilst we're going home. I mean, and then Speaker would put it all together and wish us well, either in a fatherly manner or in a number two manner. But yesterday we didn't have that. I mean, yesterday was like, I was like, wait, is this a movie or is this real? Where Speaker spoke and at the end he just uses his empowered authority to just end us and put us off to Easter. And I must say, I mean, this Easter will not be the same Easter I was hoping for, because a lot of members of parliament who are ready to work for the country in the role of ministerial appointments can't go about doing Ghana's people's duty. And I really think that we need to weigh carefully. I mean, legal school ultimately is about cost-benefit analysis. And I think that we are being more injurious to Ghana. In the words of Afenyomakin, we have stopped government business and we are not helping.
Okay. I've just been informed that we have the minority leader, Dr. Kessler Ato Forson, on now.
Okay.
Where?
Yes. Now. So no. He's joined us now. Yes, I've just been informed. Okay. So let's just take him on and then we'll get back to the discussion. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Randy.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. Let me clarify some few points that has been raised by our colleague with you this morning, Dr. Kusi, and also to clarify some points that has been raised by the majority leader. Randy, it is important for the people of Ghana to understand that both leadership, the NDC majority, the NDC minority and MPP majority leadership, at a business committee last week, agreed that Parliament was going to rise in a day yesterday. And we agreed that that is going to be done not too late, but we intend to close early. And so that understanding was established. Again, it was our understanding that on that day, the outstanding businesses will be taken, even if the businesses has been advertised, and obviously those businesses, there are reports to back them. So we went to the chamber early, agreed on that day. We started about 12. Businesses were taken. The only business that was outstanding had to do with the IDA and that of the IDAs in particular. So the IDAs had to do with a loan facility of $150 million that the government of Ghana intends to take from the World Bank. But this IDAs in question, something fundamentally was wrong with the IDAs. Not long ago, in the year 2020, $200 million was taken by this government for the same purpose. But strangely to us, the government could not account for the $200 million. When we probed further, $65 million of an amount that was supposed to be used for the dredging of Odo and others, and the stilting of certain key outlets in terms of culverts were used for the purposes of COVID-19 chop. We requested them to give us the breakdown of what they used the money for. And it was found out that the money was actually used for things that no one can be proud of. In fact, simply put, for corrupt purposes. Let me say this. we asked the members of the Finance Committee working with the members of the Works and Housing Committee to visit the site. For some interesting reason, the members of those committees decided not to go because apparently they are aware that they are not going to get what they are supposed to. Apparently, the ministers and the government decided not to encourage them to go to the site. So they did not go. And the agreement was for them to visit the site and bring a report to the House. So at the time the Speaker was going into the chamber, the report from the Works and Housing Committee dealing with the concerns that the House raised were not available. And so there was no business as long as we were concerned. I've heard them also talk about tax waivers. Let me say that the tax waivers were never advertised on the business statement. It was not in Parliament records that Parliament was going to take the tax waivers for that day. In fact, these are the tax waivers that the NDC minority has raised serious issues about. Tax waivers amounting to $449 million US. They came back telling us that because of our insistence, they have reduced the tax waivers from $449 million US to $331 million US without any proper explanation. The tax waivers concerned that we are talking about were not advertised. The Finance Committee never met on it. And I was surprised to hear that the majority leader and some MPs are saying that the Finance Committee had met on it and a report was ready. When was that? I'm a member of the Finance Committee. So no meeting has happened. It has never been tabled before Parliament. It has never been tabled before the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee has not prepared a report to be presented to the plenary. So there was no business that the majority is creating an impression that the Speaker of Parliament, for some interesting reason, decided to sabotage government business. There was no business. Simple put, the government had no business for the day. That was what it is. And nobody should create an impression that the Speaker, for some interesting reason, decided to sabotage government business. There was no government business in the first place. The IDA loan was not ready because we had raised serious issues. We think it's a corrupt deal. We think that deal should not even make its way to Parliament. We have seen so many things. Randy, I won't speak on that matter now. I will wait for that report to come back to the House when we resume. And then Ghanaians will see the extent of corrupt practices that has gone on in this administration since 2017. It stinks and it's bad.
Now,
but in the meantime,
yes.
In the meantime, let no one create an impression that the Speaker of Parliament has sabotaged government business. The government simply does not have business for the day. And that is why Parliament decided to rise sine die. Simple.
Now, Leader, there is definitely an impasse in view of the letter you received from the presidency and, of course, the Speaker's pronouncements on the matter. How do we move forward?
To move forward, the Supreme Court must first sit on the so-called injunction and clear it. The injunction on the reasons why the president has said he's not going to sign, the Supreme Court must urgently clear that one first before they move on Honorable Defiamepo's injunction. These two injunctions, they can't deal with it.
What if the Supreme Court sits on Honorable Defiamepo next week?
That clearly will show that Supreme Court is picking and choosing. The first injunction was done weeks before the second one. So in the interest of fairness, they cannot pick the other one and the one that was filed first and deal with it before they move on to they have to do the first one before they move on to the second one. But even most importantly, I'm of the view that the president must recognize the constitutional provisions. And the constitutional provisions is clear. The fact that Parliament cannot be stopped to present a bill to His Excellency the President. The President has a minimum of 5 days to assent to the bill or reject. So these are two options. If he decides not to do it, in our view, he has breached the Constitution. And the NDC minority has taken note of it. And the right time, we would take the needed steps to address the unconstitutionality and the breaches that the president has. And yesterday, I signaled that we will stop at nothing but to ensure that our president, the one who has sworn to protect the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, obeys the Constitution and deals with it. So in the coming days, you will hear from us as to what we will do.
Dr. Kessler Tuforsin, thank you very much for your time this morning. All right, so if you're looking for a toothpaste that will take care of all the family and save money, the recommended family toothpaste is KEL 360 toothpaste, approved by the Food and Drugs Authority. KEL 360 toothpaste provides you and your family with all-round dental protection throughout the day with freshness. KEL 360 toothpaste is good for kids, children, and adults. Let your family be a proud family when they step out by constantly using KEL 360 toothpaste. KEL 360 toothpaste brightens your teeth, prevents cavity, and with its cool mint, gives you fresh breath throughout the day and protects the gum from decaying. For consistency and quality, use KEL 360 toothpaste. KEL 360 toothpaste, another product from Samara Company Limited, producers of Sasso, and is available in all supermarkets, malls, and provision shops. Call Samara Company on 0246 864 798. KEL 360 toothpaste. Happy smile. And the pains of climbing the stairs when not exercising could be challenging for all ages, but worry no more. Lift and Elevators have got you covered with the best portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators on the market today. It's a simple, self-supported elevator for both homes and offices, and guess what? It can lift your goods too. Wheelchairs can fit in, and they come in 3 custom-made models. It's affordable and can be installed within 3 days. Visit Lift and Elevators at Sakumon or just call them on 0200 535 or send a mail to elevatorsgh@gmail.com for consultations and the best solutions in easy vertical movement. And Estate Masters Limited is giving a 10% discount on all their lands. Their lands are located at Ningo Pram, close to the Central University, and Chopoli, close to the Saglemi. Affordable housing, and they start from 25,000 Ghana cedis and 12,000 Ghana cedis. You can contact Estate Masters Limited on 0500-304-447 or 0593-803-180, or you can contact them on www.estatemasters.com or at estatemasters.gh. All right. So, gentlemen, we'll take a break. Then when we return, I just want you guys to, cease and desist. We'll be back shortly.
I told you.
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. So with me on the show, I have the Honorable Dr. Dixon Adumako Kisi and the Honorable Roxin Nelson Defemakbo. Now, what does wealth mean to you? Do you want to live like a tycoon? Remember, as God and Mola, God the power. Ghana's newest lottery game draws live on Adom TV at 9 a.m., 12 noon, and 6 p.m. daily. Now, pick up your phones, tablets, and computers and download the Game Park Games app on Play Store. You can also play on the website at www.gameparkgames.com or by dialing *946# on all networks. Just choose 4 numbers. From 0 to 9, it's easy to play and easy to win. Shall I make we play this game and make some mola? Nobody beats our odds in Ghana. Game Park Games, more mola, more power. This game is regulated by a National Lottery Authority and is not for persons under 18. Play responsibly. Ayesuku, that could somewhat be big, but Betway's cash out be bigger. Betway is giving you more control over every thrilling bet you place. Enjoy the biggest and most reliable cash out in Ghana on Betway without any hassle. Sign up today at betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. This is not for persons under 18 and is regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more. And Blue Jeans Energy Drink has been on the Ghanaian market for over 20 years. We already know what it does for the body. It contains vitamins and nutrients like vitamin B2, B3, B6, B12, as well as taurine and guarana, which are known to boost your strength and energy as well as promote high performance and endurance. Blue Jeans Energy Drink has been tested and tried. It is indeed the best. Blue Jeans Energy Drink is for bold and active men and women, so go and grab a cold can and power your day. It's in shops nationwide. For bulk purchases, contact Budget Cash and Carry Limited on 0208-128-190 or 055-001-0000. All right. Roxy.
Yes. Doc, first of all, let me rebut a couple of things Doc said.
I didn't rebut anything.
Yes, but you said certain things that I need to rebut. Look, it's not correct that Parliament's hands should be stayed in respect of this matter. If you recall the Act 1012, that's the emergency, the COVID-19 emergency law, people went to court. Government was injuncted, but government proceeded, got it passed. That is stampeded Parliament. We passed it under emergency and the certificate of urgency. He assented to it and proceeded to issue what we call LI 64. Eventually, when the Supreme Court determined the matter and declared that the law was unconstitutional in respect of the relief sought by the plaintiffs, the law was struck down. Everything consequent on the law, everything had been struck down. It's no longer part of our laws. So that can be done. Then two, this argument that e-levy is a government-sponsored bill which consequently got passed by Parliament into a law and therefore has the backing of the state and a law sponsored by private members. There's no such distinction in our constitution. The final product is what will have to be looked at. So if we look at Article 295, Doc, with your permission, an act of Parliament means an act enacted by Parliament and includes an ordinance. So once Parliament becomes seized with a bill, whether privately sponsored or public or government sponsored, and it goes through the strictures of lawmaking and gets to third reading, passed, edited properly, remitted, certified to the office of the President for assent, it becomes a product of Parliament. So that distinction that you guys have been led into, and you are enunciating, all of you are talking about it, that e-levy is a government-sponsored law. But it's neither here nor there. It becomes a final product of Parliament.
No, but the fact still remains.
No, but that is not a fact that you can...
The origin.
No, yes, but the origin is immaterial.
The timing.
No, it is immaterial.
Because in one breath,
yes,
I am in agreement with Sam George.
Yeah.
In earlier years of Sam George, when he said that Ghanaians, we have issues of potholes, manholes, electricity staying on, water and these things, and that this issue should not be a front burner issue. That one, I'm still in agreement with him.
Let me make my point.
How do we refer to a front burner? Has it prevented us from doing anything else?
Thank you. So
this bill, has it prevented Parliament from doing any other way?
In fact, yesterday we passed another bill.
It has literally cost us having a Minister of Health right now.
Yeah, I will address that matter.
It is what it is.
I will address that matter. Then
it is consequential. I mean, basically, based on what has happened.
You let me finish.
We don't have our ministers.
You let me finish.
The way I was excited about meeting Okoboy after tomorrow.
When we were speaking, I was quiet. So let me finish.
Oh.
Then again, Article 108 is very clear. Oko is my friend too, but it's nothing personal.
Everything.
Let me read Article 108 to your understanding.
It's painful.
Article 108 is very clear. It says, Parliament shall not, unless the bill is introduced or the motion is introduced by or on behalf of the President, proceed upon a bill.
Even the 8 months we said is small. Now you people have reduced the 8 months.
Proceed upon a bill including an amendment to a bill. That in the opinion...
You have reduced the 8 months.
Wait, that in the opinion of the person presiding. This argument about a charge on the consolidated fund, this is the roadblock. If this roadblock is cleared, every other process or decision taken on the bill becomes valid.
And just to remind you, Afenyo Markins made a case about reformation of, these people, and the fact that very good gentlemen like us who are married, have kids, when we end up in jail, for lack of a better word, become, coerced or change our behavior to then become, people who mate with men. And by that, sending these people to Nsawam is literally taking a drug addict to a drug house. And these are arguments that he has made.
Can I finish? So
I'm
saying your argument that this bill will occasion a charge on the consolidated fund, on the public fund, is neither here nor there. That is why, in the opinion of the person,
if you jail somebody,
no, Doc.
There's a cost to the state.
How is that a cost? The Constitution says a charge. Okay, in the opinion of the person presiding, makes provision for any of the following: the imposition of a charge on the consolidated fund. What is a charge?
Don't we pay?
What is a charge? No, what is a charge?
A charge is basically a bill. I mean a cost.
Thank you.
Implication. Once you jail somebody for even 2 years,
yes,
the state will be providing for food, shelter.
That is not the kind of meaning being interpreted here.
But
that is not the kind of meaning.
So what kind of charge on the consolidated fund are we
This is about
about
imposition of a levy. Imposition.
So if it's not a levy and it is something that the state needs to pay for, it's not. You're saying that it's not cost to the government.
But the state will
but
cost for
everything will come at a cost. Because even the paper that the A4 sheet that will be printed.
Thank you.
It is a cost to the state.
So
if we are going to
that is not the kind of
as anything that comes at a cost.
No, I
think
some of the minimum. Some of the minimum sentences.
In fact, we've all been to law school. We've all done constitutional law, and we even wrote exams on this.
No, the minimum sentence.
Hold on.
That we're asking
No,
for.
we are not talking about the content of the bill.
Oh,
this thing, it took Dr. Aini. I think about 2 weeks ago. So it took Dr. Aini with arguments. Then he took his time to explain. Then I understood that no. The general interpretation that we place on this
is erroneous.
Erroneous.
Agreed.
It's totally erroneous.
But it's still the case.
Because anything done will come at a cost.
Yes.
So that is not the intention of the framing. That is not the kind of cost
in fact, they are looking at. The 3 times that the clerk went to Jubilee House.
Yes, it came at a cost.
You guys.
So it took Dr. Aini to, and he's always been my lecturer. It took him to.
No, I mean.
Then I agree with
either
him.
way, it's a cost
benefit. And I have since
desisted.
No, I have since grabbed that interpretation, and so that is.
Now you see, there is something that is lost.
But wait, foregone earnings will also be an element we need to consider, in the sense that after this bill was put out, then Finance Ministry came with some numbers in attachment to this.
Are you saying that?
You understand? Which
are you
also
saying that when the framers of the Constitution speak about the financial implications on the state, it also includes
foregone earnings?
How?
Oh, in fact, Constitution didn't use. We have been transposing the phrase financial implications.
But
it says a charge. No, it says a charge.
I understand you.
Yes. Doctor says, so when you say financial implications, you fall into that error.
Yes.
It is
but if you stick to the word, the phrase, a charge
on the consolidated fund,
then you are home and dry. So, indeed, a lot of state-owned entities that have been incorporated privately.
There's a charge on the consolidated.
They sponsor bills. They bring it. Are they private bills?
No, I mean,
good.
You're right.
Exactly.
About that. I mean,
so the argument must be refined. We have run into a problem. But like you said, we have run into a limbo.
Look, and this issue of the executive and legislature relationship and whatever.
2 elephants.
And for me, it's the bigger implication on
the ordinary citizen.
The respect for the Constitution.
Okay.
Yes.
The supremacy of the Constitution.
Yes. Okay.
And of course, the total well-being of the Ghanaian.
Yes.
And especially the consolidation of democracy.
Yes.
Now, we are told that this is only subsequent to the issue of 4 earlier bills that are currently in abeyance.
Yes.
As a result of a similar,
in fact, 3.
A similar thing by the president.
Yes. And that one, Doc, it took the president nearly 6 months to act pursuant to Article 106.
There was one of them that he had even accented.
Yeah, we discussed it here about a month ago. I brought the evidence.
Unbeknownst to him.
Unbeknownst to him.
Unbeknownst to who?
To the president.
That he had assented.
You see, the bill came on the 2nd of August, perhaps in the morning, and the same day he assented. Then subsequently, maybe they must have gone to a meeting and somebody must have drawn his attention to it. Then he realized that it appears I've signed one.
No, he assented and forwarded same to Parliament.
Yes. So we have a copy. You know, when you do that, you must remit it for...
So he did.
He did.
So how does he then write back to say that I will not assent?
So perhaps he's recanting. In that sense, that's what it's saying.
But does the Constitution allow...
There's no such provision. That's the point I made like a month ago.
That's not the process.
So at every point, the president creates his own...
Thank you. He creates his
He
own
amends the
problem.
Constitution by himself.
I even indicated that...
Not entirely.
I even indicated that day that I intended to sue to challenge the fact that he breached the 14-day rule. It took him nearly 6 months to send that memo.
But what is all this?
A no memo is before Speaker,
in truthfulness,
which is in complete breach of the
If we look at
Constitution.
many of the presidential assents, some have gone beyond the 40. I mean, if we audit from
No, that's not even the
No,
point.
but that's
You
not
see,
the issue.
first of all,
That's not the issue.
the
So
processes...
you agree?
See,
No, I don't
first
agree.
of all, the processes in going through this thing. Obviously, the Attorney General would be a part of this process. I'm not sure that there will be any such bill. That Attorney General will not be interested. And I'm not sure that the President will assent to any of this without the input of the Attorney General.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on what basis the President signed? Did he assent and remit same to
In
Parliament?
fact, our bill.
Sometimes-
In fact,
sometimes
Doc, hold on.
there's
In
a
fact,
slip.
our bill, this bill, the Ghanaian Family Values Bill, the Attorney General has been part of it through and through at the committee stage. And look, I will send you his
Constitution,
opinion.
right?
I will send you his opinion. He actually sent us an opinion on some of the key provisions. As a result of which opinion, we will have to readjust
Well,
and
to
realign.
be fair to the Attorney General, on this matter, his advice is restricted to the application.
Yes.
It is not about the merits
validity,
of...
I
Yes,
agree.
yes.
So those who even argue that it's a private member didn't get the input, it's also incorrect because we've had heavy input from the office of the AG. Now, the other matter I want to address is that the issue of the vetting. The vetting is an incomplete parliamentary process.
Correct.
In fact, it's the second phase. The first phase is to be invited.
Correct.
The second phase is to actually go through the vetting process. The third phase will be the submission of the committee report. The fourth phase will be the debate. And the final phase is for the report to be adopted by resolution in Parliament. So we haven't gone anywhere. So I am right.
But we're in limbo.
Yes, I am right in placing it in limbo. If the work of Parliament can be placed in limbo, how is it not possible that the work of the Executive Council be
We were
placed in limbo?
hoping to be exemplary.
You hope against hope.
We were hoping
No,
to be
you hope
more,
against hope.
more exemplary.
You hope against hope. So,
Since we know what is right.
so Doc, you walk yourself into this disaster. If I say you, I mean a composite you. You walked yourself into this disaster. And I think that upon a sober reflection, you have to retract.
All of us.
Yes, government will have to retract its steps, redefine its relationship with the legislature, redefine its relationship with the judiciary, so we can coexist peacefully.
We
Because
all have to.
That is the essence of the constitutionalism that we have decided to,
So
to craft for
we'll both
ourselves.
reflect. Government will reflect. Parliament.
We are saying that per the logic of
But
the
we
presidency.
reflected and
No,
we
no, hold
acted.
on. We are saying that per the logic of the presidency, we will apply his logic mutatis mutandis.
Oh.
That's what we do.
Which means
Which means two wrongs will make a right.
No, that is not two wrongs.
That is what he's saying.
We'll say that we apply your reasoning and logic in the same manner that you are applying it.
That is true.
You know.
And you say that our logic is wrong.
Yes.
Then why apply
But
our
that
But
is the
you
logic.
don't agree that
Yes.
it's wrong.
No.
In fact,
No.
in the statement by the
He
majority...
who knows what is right
See.
and decides not to do.
in fact, in the
and
statement...
he who doesn't know.
In your statement...
I'm asking you.
In this statement...
Doc, I'm asking
No,
you.
I'm just saying.
He who knows what is right.
No, what I'm
and decides not to.
What
do
I'm just trying to point out to you. What I'm just trying to point out to you is that your statement here suggests that the presidency did no wrong.
Yes.
No. Listen.
No, that's what the statement says.
Doc,
should I read? Should I read the relevant portions?
Doc, please hear me out. I say that per the elaborative work of the speaker.
You are heckling me.
No. Per the elaborative work of the speaker, he knows what is right, but decides to do what he says is wrong. He's doing it.
Speaker,
that is where I say he's inconsistent.
Now, Kisi, finally, let me land.
Yes.
Look, it's also not correct. The erroneous impression conveyed by
150 million.
Yes, the majority via a statement. I have in my hand 23rd February order paper.
Yes.
As part of the businesses on the order paper, in consonance with the text message he got, we have listed motions and businesses, including motion number 44, interstate subsection bill.
I want to.
That law, sponsored by government, it stayed on the order paper for nearly 2 months.
And even the legal one.
They didn't see it fit to pursue it. Honorable Muntaka is so interested in this legislation, has so many advertised amendments. The Honorable Muntaka every day will sit in Parliament, they will never deal with this business. And yet you come and blame the minority for frustrating government business. So that can't be correct. The issue about consideration of bills, so that is one. It is not the minority that champions bills consideration, but when you come to the floor, it is us.
This one too.
So sometimes you hear me on my feet that how come the majority are not interested in the bill that they themselves have brought and we are considering. If you check the answer, it's me, it's in your hand for Dr. Aini, Senior Yariga, with some input from maybe the chairman of the committee.
You are crying more than a bereaved.
We are not crying more. We are saying that we have always been responsible and supportive of government business.
Okay.
And the evidence shows that we have been. So when you say that consideration of bills have suffered, the bills have suffered because you refuse to prioritize them even though they are government bills. That's the point I'm making. I've shown you one evidence since February. They haven't pursued it.
We need to go. Is that you're looking for 150 million from IDA?
It is part of.
Okay. Do you know the current gold prices?
We'll talk about it.
And you know how much money that's
Minerals Commission will come and talk.
Okay. So
they know. They can
stay
tell
tuned. Up next is a conversation with the Minerals Commission. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining me. We'll be back shortly.